Hi, I'm Shannon McGee with Network in Action, franchise owner here in Music City, Tennessee. Today I'm with Fred McLaughlin with Baird. Hi, Fred. How are you doing this afternoon?
Really well. How are you, Shannon?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So, I'm really interested in a discussion we were having earlier about how you help people with generational wealth transfer. Tell me what that means, or, maybe a story that helps us understand, where this direction comes from.
Um, when I think of generational wealth transfer, I think about probably three generations. Parents that have children, those children are now in their 40s to 60s, and then they have children. So you've got the grandparents that have lived a full life, reached age, life expectancy today is in the early 90s. So I've got multiple examples of where I've been involved in estates of my elderly clients that have died and then have had to pass that generational wealth to their children, and then thinking about the grandchildren. So just recent example, a 90-year-old woman that I've been a financial advisor with for over 30 years, nursing home for several years, trying to make her money work for her during that time. Daughter was executor or is executor of her estate. But with COVID, unfortunately, had some real tragedy. She lost her son. It was in his late 50s, and actually lost a niece that was in her 30s. And the niece of this, or excuse me, this would be a granddaughter then of the lady, has young children. So now we're at a fourth generation, and these are minors. And there's a lot of logistics that have to be jumped through because of being a minor. You have to have a guardian or a conservatorship. So that's what I mean by generational wealth transfer and planning. Obviously, a will and an estate plan is necessary to help that, but it's a difficult process when you really have a lot of examples. But unfortunately, we can't take it with us. So
Yeah. Well,
um,
Fred, I know you work with clients of all ages. And so that's an example of someone who's worked their lifetime, saved up, had this wealth management plan toward end of life, and then transfer to the younger generation. If we were to start at the beginning, what would you say to the younger generation to start thinking about wealth management and wealth strategy?
the most important thing I think for the young people starting out, obviously debt is a huge albatross around individuals and couples, particularly if they have student debt or any type of credit card debt. So the first thing, you have to become debt free in order to have investable assets. Now, I don't mean 100% debt free. You might have a mortgage or a car payment, but you need to have a savings plan and you need to have a budget. So you need to know where your money is coming from, employment, work, but then what can you save and put aside? Most people today don't necessarily have a retirement plan. So there's all sorts of vehicles for retirement planning. If your company doesn't offer a 401k, there are SEP IRAs or individual retirement accounts. There's a lot of things you can do. So I would say, you've got to plan. People don't plan to fail, they fail by making a plan. But savings is key, and debt reduction is huge. Right now, we're in a really low interest rate environment. So borrowing money for a home or borrowing money for a car purchase is not a bad idea because interest rates are so low. But you've got to be putting money to work, and that's through investments.
I love how you say that, and the fact that on one hand, one of your goals is to help them put their money to work for them.
Right.
They're busy, head down, working, maybe paying off debt, trying to figure out how do I add some organization, and you bring to the table, your expertise to help them put a strategy in place so that their money works for them.
I had a farmer one time that visited me when I was a young financial advisor, and he literally came up from Cornersville, Tennessee, a little rural community. He was a cattle farmer, brought his wife to town so she could go shopping, and he would go to the brokerage firms and try to get the best stock idea of the week. But he came in and he said, Fred, I'm looking for someone that can help me make my money grow so I don't have to work for my money. And I thought that was a really interesting way to put it. He wanted his money that he's worked really hard for then to work for him, so he didn't have to work anymore.
I love that. Well, Fred, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
The best way is either through email, fmclaughlin at rwbaird.com, or 615-341-7030 is my office number.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate the time today. Have a great afternoon.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. Appreciate it.